This set of videos on the concept of probability is going to be a little bit longer than for a usual class. And the reason for that is not so much that I will be teaching a lot of new concepts, but because in fact I'll be talking about some concepts or a number of concepts that you have most likely heard already, but if my past experience is any indication, about which you have some misconceptions. So what I'm going to be doing is both try to present these concepts, try to highlight some of the common misconceptions, and try to clarify them. So bear with me. I hope I will not be too boring with this particular class. Probability is normally considered as a very boring subject anyway, so I hope you're not going to take it up with me if it does become boring, but I'll try not to make it boring, and I'll try to highlight some important things rather than spending a lot of time on lesser issues. Now, I'm pretty sure that you have seen probabilities before. In fact, if you're alive, you have certainly seen probabilities before. They are in our life very commonly. For instance, are all familiar with probabilities associated to games of chance. One of the things, for instance, is that I don't have to convince you to talk too much to convince you that the probability of rolling a 6 from a die is 1 in 6. Now you may wonder where that comes from. Probably you already know, but we're going to clarify some of these ideas. Now things like, for instance, what's the probability of getting 2 sixes out of 2 dice? It's a little bit more convoluted. We're not going to spend any time on that. But again, it's not that difficult to understand, and probably you have seen proof of how that is done before. For instance, have you ever wondered, is that 1/6 as an exact number? Is it true for all dice? What about if it's contradicted by evidence and things like this? So that's the kind of things that we're going to be looking at. Or things like car accidents, right? How do people come up with this idea that driving a car or driving in a car is more dangerous than driving or riding in an airplane? Or how do they compute these kind of probabilities? Or even, for instance, with the weather forecast, what do they mean when they say that there is a 40% probability of snow or rain or whatever it is? Now, I will not be talking about car accidents and weather, but hopefully I'll give you enough information and enough clarification that you'll be able to understand a little bit better when people talk about these particular probabilities. Now, the key concepts of probability are fairly simple, and we're going to go through them in reasonable detail. Okay, but again, they can often be misinterpreted. Like anything that is used commonly, sometimes people end up using it in the wrong way. And so we're going to try and make sure that we understand, or I'm going to try and help you understand what is the proper concept and what is true and what is not true about it. Okay. Now, the computations with probabilities are not simple at all. In fact, they can become quite complicated, and in fact they can be quite often counterintuitive, and that is why games of chance, for instance, have become such a great cash cow for people who organize casinos. A lot of people are not really aware of the probabilities involved in many games, and so it is easy to lure people with the attraction of great wins when in fact what everybody can expect from these games of chance is losing. Okay, so sometimes some surprising values can occur. For instance, in class, we're going to play a little game having to do with birthdays. Okay, now just think about how many people are in our class, and think about, well, what's the probability that there are at least 2 people, 2 students, whose mothers have the same birthday? Okay, and I'm going to bet that there is 2 people in the class whose mothers have the same birthday. But let's see, well, we're going to see that in class. Okay. Now we're going to focus on the concepts as usual. We're going to try and understand them, and we're not going to spend much time on the computations. They're not simple, they don't help you very much, and we don't have much use for them. So what do we have use for? What are the things that what are the things for which probability is relevant for us? Well, I see that I've already used most of the time on my first video, so I'm going to stop here and continue this discussion on the next one.